Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the weekly show with my good friend GiraffeneckMark. Lots to talk about today. We have, obviously, my favorite team, the Red Sox, is playing Mark's favorite team, the Mets.
Yep.
And, I wasn't looking forward to this, Mark. I'm not going to lie to you. I was not looking forward to this after the first two games. The Red Sox are seemingly the worst team in baseball right now. Lost 2 out of 3 to the Orioles. Now we've lost 2 out of 3 to the Mets. But last night, Jacob deGrom is on the mound, which is you would just assume as an opposing team, especially a team that lost 2 out of 3 to the Baltimore Orioles,
Yeah.
that Jacob deGrom's on the mound is an automatic L. Although we did have Nathan Eovaldi going, who is a respectable pitcher. He's
For sure.
throwing the ball well. But you just assume automatic L.
Yep.
And your Metropolitans come through for me again. And whenever I'm telling you, I tweeted it last night. I stand by it today. The Metropolitans are the easiest team to beat
Yep.
in baseball with Jacob deGrom on the mound. I want to hear your thoughts.
Without fail, he pitches another great game. It wasn't his best, but he was still very good. I mean, that's just what he does. Even when he's not pitching well, he still pitches well. And the Mets just can't find a way to ever get him a win. I know wins are a meaningless stat, really. It doesn't show how good a pitcher is. But it'd be nice to just get Jacob deGrom a somewhat winning record. These one game above 500 records for him are just unbelievable because he has won the Cy Young the last 2 years, and that just doesn't make any sense. But, yeah, last night was crushing, especially because felt so good after those first two Red Sox games. And then to come back last night and just look like the Mets again was painful.
Yeah, man. I was as the Red Sox fan of the two of us here after a devastating opening series. I was talking everywhere about how I wanted to take 5 of 7 in the first 7 because I had the Orioles and a beaten up Mets team, and now we're sitting here having taken 2 of the first 6,
Yeah.
which is just atrocious. But again, I can't believe I'm sitting here talking about that we won last night. Our bats came alive. Listen, we have a great offense.
Definitely.
Our offense is good. Everyone knows that. But I just did not see. We didn't get a hold of deGrom that well.
No.
We got to your bullpen.
Yeah, they struggled.
Which you said in our first ever episode that is what teams need to do.
Yep.
You have a good bullpen, but that back Amelia, who I think has looked pretty good.
He's looked sharp.
When I've watched him, Edwin Diaz, I heard he has still had struggles.
Yeah, just a little bit.
He hasn't pitched against the Sox yet, so I haven't seen it. But you had that lefty pitcher in Game 2 who was I think debut, right?
Yeah, David Peterson making his MLB debut. He was first round pick in 2017. Looked really sharp, so I was impressed by what I saw.
Yeah, he looked really good again against on offense that was ranked the top 10 offense in the league.
And I feel like typically does some damage against left-handed pitching too, with JD and Bogarts.
Yeah, no, I 100%. And I think, I will give this offense a little bit of, an excuse in the sense that I understand how it feels when you're constantly seemingly playing from behind.
Yeah.
But yeah, he looked good. The left looked good. I don't remember who started Game 1 for you guys. Who did that?
Waka. Yeah. So if you would have told me, going into the series, hey, you're gonna win Waka and Peterson, but deGrom's you're gonna lose that game, I'd be like, you're crazy. What possibly could have happened? But that's the Mets.
Exactly. It's the Mets. Waka looked good early on.
Yeah.
He looked I was like, damn, this guy looks like he should be Game 2 starter for you guys, not game whatever it was.
He was pumping 95, and his changeup was looking really nice, which that's always what he needs.
Yeah, it's prototypical Cardinals, Waka, when he was running out there in the World Series in his rookie season and pitching against the Red Sox and beating them.
Yeah,
that was. I remember this guy's going to be a stud for years.
Yeah,
and he's been good. He hasn't been a bad pitcher, but it wasn't the guy that I thought he was going to end up being. I thought he'd be in the conversation with Kershaw's and all those guys because of just how good he did his rookie year. But listen, are you talking about the win-loss thing too? Is something we've touched on a little bit on Twitter. What do you think? Obviously, I'm assuming you think this because it's an antiquated, rule.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think about the win? How pitchers get wins? I know last night, if you guys ended up winning that game, deGrom doesn't get it, which I think I can tell you from my perspective and most of the people in baseball's perspective, at least the guys I played with, were all talking about how that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be punished because a reliever came in and blew up his lead.
Yeah.
Like, he still should get the win for the game. What are your thoughts?
So I think there's like two schools of thought, because now that you're starting to get like the openers and the guys throwing like 3 innings, should we change the minimum from 5 to be 3 now? Should it just be if you come in and your team gets the lead and they win the game, you now have the win? I think it should always probably fall down to who pitches the most in that game. Like whoever has the biggest, portion of innings pitched should in theory get the win. But like the stat is just so meaningless now, and everyone seems to know that it's meaningless, where like I almost don't really even care anymore. Like, do whatever you want, like keep it for the boomers and all that. But for me, like I don't look at win-loss almost ever anymore.
No, it's completely meaningless.
Yeah.
I mean, and Jacob deGrom is proving that on a 5-day basis.
Yeah.
Every time he goes out, he proves us again that why this stat is absolutely and utterly meaningless.
Yep.
But I'd like to get back. I don't know how to do it. But I'd like to get back to where that stat is meaningful. Like, when I played in high school, high school was probably the last time, maybe probably not even, it's probably Little League was the last time where winning was everything. Everyone wants to think that Major League Baseball players only care about winning. It's completely and totally It's outrageous. Even in the playoffs, guys are like, if we lose this game, we're going home. We get an off season.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to think that this is, the end all be all for these guys, and it's not. When you're in Little League, it's literally like you could walk. I have problems with control. I could walk 40 guys in a game. If we ended up winning, I was eating ice cream after the game. I was happy.
Exactly.
So like that win-loss record for a pitcher, I'd like to get it somewhere. I don't know how to do it, but I'd like to get it somewhere where it's a little bit more meaningful for guys in order to, and again, I don't know if it's most innings pitched. I don't know. I mean, what if he pitches, 5 innings, 6 innings, gives up 43 runs, and
yeah,
he just happens to score 44 runs. Like, he shouldn't get a freaking win for that.
That's why like all these sabermetric guys, like they come up with all these crazy stats with these crazy equations and stuff. Like, come up with something to tell me like pitcher winning, like, because I know you have like pitcher WAR and all that stuff to give you their value, but like I'm not a huge WAR guy at the end of the day. Give me something to, I don't know, quantify how meaningful they are, like to give their team wins. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but.
Speaking of these nerds in the front office, get me going on these guys. But what are your thoughts on openers?
So I get it, but I don't. So like I understand the theory behind it of, okay, like typically you're facing like the top 3 guys and you want to have someone in there who's just going to handle the best guys right off the bat. But in my head, like the starting pitching is eventually going to come in and pitch to these guys anyway. So I don't know what the value is to have the guy start the game and pitch 1 inning and then have the starter come in and essentially pitch the next 5, or just flip it and go, the starter goes the first 5, then the guy goes the innings after them. To me, obviously like the Rays have done it and it works. So clearly there is some value to it. But like from a conventional baseball standpoint, whenever I see the opener, I just go, man, this is killing the bullpen. Like, I feel like it's so hard to recover if you don't have 10 plus arms in the bullpen that are good, which most teams don't.
No, because you're losing a good arm in the beginning, because you're not going to throw out a scrub in the first.
No.
Inning. Doesn't make any sense. So you're losing a good arm. And listen, don't get me started on the opener as well. I mean, it worked for the Rays. It didn't work for the Red Sox the other day against.
No, it did not.
Crushed. Like, as a starter, like the whole point of starting the game and like getting into the groove of the game is, you're facing 1, 2, 3. But I can tell you, those first 3 at bats for a starter against those first 3 hitters, you're both kind of getting into the groove of the game.
Yeah.
No one's coming out, aside from a few guys that like to swing first pitch, like the Tim Andersons of the world and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Besides those guys, you're not, both you guys are kind of feeling the game. You're kind of showing different stuff. It's all about the competition of that. And, coming in at 4 or 5, if it's a good pitcher, he's going to see the top of the order 3 times anyway, probably. Or, well, maybe not today in today's game, but, twice probably anyway. So it just doesn't make sense. And the whole reason, and I'd like to get back to this point, which is it's still mind-blowing. The whole reason the guys are in the bullpen is because they're failed starters.
Okay, I was literally going to say that. I was going to be like, am I wrong to say that bullpen arms are failed starters? Because no one in theory gets drafted. Maybe a little bit more now because, bullpen is such a more valuable position. But, like, at the basis of it, like, no one goes, ooh, man, what a reliever. Let me take him with a second-round pick.
Exactly. Listen, I was a failed starter. I came in as a starter, and everyone projected me as a reliever guy right from the get-go. And it wasn't because, oh, man, this guy is going to be awesome in the back of the bullpens, because he doesn't have a third pitch. He doesn't have this. That's why he's going to be. Yeah, of course, he's going to throw 100. He's got this splitter that's going to be great for our back of the bullpen. But I can tell you, if I had a great slider, they would say, screw the closer. We need you starting.
Yes.
Starters are so rare. And I think that's where the emphasis on the bullpen has come, is because great starters are so it's not a dime a dozen. It's very rare to have a great starter in your rotation, or three great starters in your rotation. So you need to put an emphasis on the bullpen. Yeah. But these guys are there because they can't start baseball games.
Yeah.
Now we are putting them in that exact same role. I mean, granted, they're not going to go 5 times, but 5 innings or whatever. But you're putting them in that exact same role. It's mind-boggling to me that you let guys who have not played the sport, or maybe they have, whatever, but have not played the sport, make these adjustments. It just doesn't make any sense to me in any capacity, and it infuriates me more than life itself.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think a lot of the statistical stuff does carry some weight. I've started to be swayed a little bit more, but I still can't get on board with the whole forgetting about batting average, on base percentage, slugging. I'm a traditional stat guy, 100% over all the sabermetrics. I know some of them have some value without a doubt, but to me, I feel a lot of the stats that people talk about, I like things that I can see on the field. I can see the actual production, and when you give me a stat WRC plus or ERA plus, I get it. They have value. They've shown that there is some track record, but I just can't physically see it. That's where I have the issue. And I don't know. Traditional stats for me are always going to be my favorite. And like you said, it's tough to have guys who didn't necessarily play the game dictating how the game is now being played.
Yes. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it just goes back to, and also you talk about the things where, if you're using these statistics and changing how the game's played, the statistics itself that you're using to change the game, it's not super relevant anymore. Yeah. You're now changing, because now the statistics are going to be completely different because you changed how you're playing. It's the whole thing. But we could talk about that.
We could talk for hours.
Yeah. Let's dive into the Marlins. I think it's 17 of 30 players now.
Yeah, I think today added 1, so it's 17.
Yeah. 17 of 30 players now have tested positive. Now, this is a topic that everyone talked about when they were coming back, and the coronavirus was obviously still very prevalent, a very contagious disease, all of those horrible things, and we were all wondering what would happen if one team had an outbreak. And the Marlins have now been that team. Of course, it happens to the Marlins.
Of course.
Marlins haven't been that team. Now, people, let's not forget, this is the reason the taxi squads were created. This is why you have 60 guys. It's seemingly, though, Derek Jeter has come out and talked about how they're looking for anyone with major league quality stuff, because apparently the guys in their taxi squad don't fit that mold.
Trying to lace it back up?
No, I don't think so. But this is where we're at. We got 7. I know the Phillies shut down workouts today as well.
Yeah.
And now I think the Yankees are now playing Baltimore instead of the Phillies, who I think they were originally slated to play against.
Yeah, they were in Baltimore last night.
It's becoming kind of crazy. And Manfred, I'll leave you with this. Manfred, said yesterday that he's not married to everyone playing the exact number of games.
Yeah.
Which I think he probably has to be at this point.
Yeah.
So, where are we? Where do you think, do you change your opinion on if we're going to finish the season or not?
No, because like you said, the taxi squads were there. I saw everyone, kind of having that freak out moment when it all came down, cancel the season. I'm like, well, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Now, I know Major League Baseball hasn't been the most competent in this situation, and they have screwed up a lot this year. It's but let's give them a chance. Again, I'll give them another chance. I think the taxi squads were created for this exact reason. I think it was probably impossible to think that we were going to go the entire year without some sort of hiccup. Now, I didn't think 17 players on one team were going to get coronavirus. That's a little bit more than a hiccup. But I think there is enough in place where maybe the Marlins get a little bit punished, or they're going to have to play some doubleheaders against some teams, whatever it is down the line. But I think you're still going to be able to have this season run fairly smoothly, especially because they have not allowed the Marlins to play this week. Thank goodness, because that would have been such a disaster. And same thing with the Phillies, having them, take the week off essentially as well. It's going to be tough. I think we can learn a lot from what's going on right now, and you just make sure it doesn't happen again. The whole players meeting, should we play? We know all these guys might be sick. what a debacle that was. But I think at the core of it, the season's going to be fine. We're going to be okay. I still have no doubt in my mind that we're going to, have a full season. I'm feeling good still.
Okay. So now I want to pose this question to you. As a guy on, you're a Mets team that's going to compete for a playoff spot this year. Definitely a bubble team, not for
definitely.
Sure, winning the East or whatever, but a bubble team. The Braves are 3-3 right now. They're not blowing away the competition. Now, let me ask you this: if it wasn't the Marlins and this was happening to the Braves, as a Mets fan, are you still okay with them not playing the same number of games as everyone else, possibly?
I think so because, for me, as much as I want the Mets to make the playoffs, I'm just happy that baseball's on TV. So for me, I would rather have a team maybe give the Mets less of a chance because they're playing less games to make the playoffs than to just cancel the baseball season in general, because the Mets don't make the playoffs anyway, and I had no baseball. So for me, it's like, okay, have baseball, Mets don't play it, or have no baseball and the Mets don't play it. And at the end of the day, I would rather go through the miserable season that will be the Mets and have them miss it than have nothing.
Okay. Do you feel the Yankees would feel that same way? Yankee fans would feel that same way that if let's say it was the Rays, that because obviously I'm not going to even pretend like it's the Red Sox, but the Rays couldn't play. You think they'd be just as rational about this?
Of course not. I mean, the Yankees are the most irrational fan base in baseball. I mean, a guy comes up from the minors, hits a homer, and he's a top 10 player in the league. So, I mean, I would expect them to pull out every excuse in the phone, every excuse in the book. They did it last year. They do it every single year. Every time they don't win the World Series, well, this happened and this happened. I'm waiting for the 2019 or 2020 excuses now because they got their all-star lineup. They got their all-star pitcher. What's going to be the excuse when they don't win it this year? I mean, coronavirus is going to be it, but
of course.
Yeah, but I mean, they'll pull out any excuse possible.
All right, let's talk about irrational fan bases right now. Let's dive into my good friend Joe Kelly throwing at Carlos Correa. Now, I know where I'm on. I don't know if you've seen my tweets about it, so I hope you haven't. So we can.
I don't think I have.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I want to know your honest opinion. Do you believe Joe should have been suspended? Or not?
I think you give him one game, and I know the whole idea of how are you going to suspend a player and not the Astros? And I agree. I'm 100% on that bandwagon. That's BS. There's no reason that a guy should be. The reason I think you do is because you just have to let it be known, you can't throw at the guys still. And he did go up towards the head, which that's where I kind of draw a little bit of a line. Put it in his back. I'm cool with it. Get up towards the head. That's where you're getting a little bit dangerous. 8 games is absolutely absurd, though. That is just so ridiculous. I think they said it's 22 games in a 162-game season, which is one of the most severe suspensions in Major League Baseball history for something like this. Ridiculous. I mean, Rob Manfred butchered this so bad, as he's done with so many things in Major League Baseball. It's frustrating because I think I saw some guys talking about it, but you're punishing a guy because you didn't punish the team properly. You're now putting it in their hands, and this is how they can respond and how they're feeling frustrated. So if you just suspended the Astros players, this never happens. Maybe a guy gets hit once or twice, but they screwed it up so bad.
No, I couldn't agree more on pretty much all fronts. So you have to, I like Joe. I was his roommate when I was playing in Boston. Me and him kind of, in AAA and big leagues played together a bunch when he came over from Cardinals. So I really like Joe. He is one heck of a zombies player. If you ever played whatever game that Call of Duty.
Call of Duty, yeah.
Yeah. He's a heck of a zombies player. He's always picking me up. So I have to give him props there. But you have to suspend him because you can't, it might just go rampant then. Everyone's doing it. So you have to do something. Maybe I would have been probably either suspension or fine. I wouldn't have been against a fine. Because now if you find him pretty aggressively, teams might pick it up, especially a Dodgers team. Their ownership might pick it up for him.
Got some money.
Yeah, but you got to do something. I think everyone agrees there. I also want to make note that from what I understood and read about that whole investigation into the Astros was the Players Association negotiated on behalf of the players to give them, whatever the word is I'm looking for.
Immunity.
Immunity. There we go. Thank you. Gave them immunity if they were going to, be interviewed and be, those interviews would never have happened if the Major League Baseball didn't do that.
Correct.
I understand that Major League Baseball's hands were tied there as well. It's a tough situation. It was a butchered situation, 100%. You can't do 8 games.
Yeah.
That is outrageous, especially when you didn't even hit him. I
Yeah,
also
no.
want to note that as a guy who's thrown at guys before, because I did not shy away from that. I'm an old school baseball guy.
Yep.
I don't mind pimping home runs in the playoffs or in August or September when it's really, we got big games here. But
Mhm.
if you're going to pimp me in the third inning in May, and May, you're going to get plunked
Yeah.
because I'm big on respect. You respect me, I respect you. That's it.
Okay.
But as a guy who's done that, I understand that when you're essentially starting a fight.
Yeah.
So you get way more jacked up than your normal pitch, and sometimes the ball elevates.
Yeah.
It's not intentional. I doubt Joe tried to throw it as a head. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, head hunting, so and so. I'm not going to use the words, but it happens. It's going to happen. You probably should aim lower, but it is what it is. My biggest complaint of the whole thing, not even Manfred's 8 games, my biggest complaint of the whole thing is the nerve that Astro fans
Oh my
and
God.
Astro players have the
Yeah.
nerve of getting upset.
Yeah.
You either get hit and take your base, or you step back in the box and you wear it.
Yeah.
They're getting $400,000 or $500,000 bonuses for winning the World Series. They're lining their own pockets by taking out of everyone else's because they cheated their way through it. You wear it and you get a World Series ring. You get better contracts throughout your years because you're probably having better statistics. The amount of additions to their lives they've made by doing this, you just shut your mouth and be happy you didn't get suspended and take your base. Take your on base.
Honestly, be happy they didn't get suspended. Be happy they didn't take away the World Series. I mean, there was so much that could have been done, and they really got off scot-free.
They did. There's no two ways about it. So you can't be upset. You can't. I don't. I mean, if it's happening 2 months into the season now,
Yeah.
and maybe by the same teams and stuff like that, okay, I get it. Now, listen, we've paid our crimes. We've been hit by plenty of 90-mile-an-hour fastballs. Listen, I get it at that point. But we go first round here. Bregman got thrown out, I think, as well by Joe Kelly.
Yeah.
And Carlos Correa. You guys cheated your way to a World Series. And listen, I cheated in baseball. I did things myself. I did the stuff to get better grips on baseballs, which every pitcher in Major League Baseball does.
Yeah.
I've done all those things, but you cheat in a way that is allowed by baseball.
It's almost like, you turn the other eye to that because you're like, everyone's doing it. Not that makes it okay, but you're also not putting a camera out in center field and relaying signs saying, here's what pitch is coming.
I mean, it's a perfect example that that's okay in baseball, that type of cheating is okay. My type of cheating is okay in baseball because umpires do nothing about it unless the other manager says it.
Yeah.
So they have to initiate that, and no managers do it because they know their guys are doing it too. It's kind of in one of those unspoken rules in baseball.
Yeah.
And what they did, and I'm sure there are other teams that did it, but what they did was outrageous.
Yeah, it was bad.
You won a World Series because of it. You probably made millions and millions of dollars because of it. You just shut your mouth, take the medicine, and move on. No one's taken the Hall away from me yet, although those discussions wouldn't be happening for a little while anyway. Yeah. But you have a lot you can do here the rest of your careers to kind of push this away.
Correct.
I just don't. You can't get upset. You can't clear the benches.
No.
Do nothing. You just go to first base, and I think that is where they're screwing up here. And I think they're making all of baseball hate them even more than they already were.
And especially like when you're going up against. I know Kelly wasn't a part of the Dodgers team that they beat, but Kelly was part of the Red Sox team that they beat. So you're going up against guys who have legitimate beef with you. It's not like you're playing the Mariners and they're zipping one by you. Then you'd be like, well, come on, guys. Like, you had no shot. But, the Red Sox, the Dodgers, you should expect those teams to be a little bit upset.
At the very least.
Yeah.
You have to realize, again, with everyone talks about, they made it to the AL East, not the World Series, or the AL East, the ALCS, not the World Series. But again, there's more to it than that. You're talking, future contracts that you guys with guys. If you're a World Series champion, without anything else on your resume, you have provided value to other guys, other teams, because there will be guys on that team that have never won a World Series, and you can help them try to get there. And then you add on top of the better contracts, your statistics are better. You add on the fact that you get your playoff pools that are going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars now. Each guy's going to get a $400,000 or $500,000 check for winning the World Series. It's ridiculous what happened. And again, they should just take their medicine and move on. and we can get this a lot better than it is right now if it just happens.
What surprised me the most is that Bregman, has always kind of been the guy who's a little mouthy. And he was kind of the guy who just took it. He was like, all right, you know what? Whatever. It happened. I knew it was coming. But then Correa, who had been quiet all throughout his career, recently has almost like taken on like the villain role of like, dude, just shut your mouth and play. Like, you did something wrong and you seem to just think it didn't happen like ever again. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. It's like even during spring training after they got the suspension, he was saying some dumb stuff. He started obviously with Joe Kelly here. Like, I want to like the guy. He was one of my favorite players, but he's making it very hard because he just comes off so whiny.
Yeah, no, I originally didn't say anything about the gentleman because I thought he was a Boris client, and I was a Boris client, so I always try to give those guys a little bit of leniency. I'm not a journalist, so I don't really care if people know that I'm being lenient towards different players.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I recently actually asked them if he is a client still, and he got rid of them a long time ago. So truthfully, I don't like the way he's handled it. I kind of, again, super whiny. It doesn't make you like the guy at all.
No.
I don't know how he is in real life. I've never I played against him once, but I never actually pitched against him. I have no real inkling. I've never met him or anything like that, but it's just the way he's come off, the way he came off in spring training, like you said, and the way he's coming off now is just, it couldn't be worse. They're handling it horribly.
Yeah, bad.
I don't think anyone disagrees with that.
No.
But let's end the show with a nice little prediction. Do the Red Sox and Mets split, or do we? I mean,
Please, no.
3-1. I'm gonna say probably 2-2. What do you got?
We can't split. Like, it's so ridiculous that I even have to say like we have must wins. But like, I need to see Matt's pitch well again tonight. He had a really good start against the Braves the first game, and then we screwed him. But I would like to see him pitch well again. It's going to be tough because we've kind of kept JD in check a little bit so far this series, and I feel like this is the perfect game for him to just absolutely blow up against Steven Matz. But I'm going to put some trust and faith in Steven Matz. He's going to come out again. He's going to step up, give us like 6 strong innings, and then it's up to the bullpen. We just need to make sure that we score enough runs where the bullpen can't possibly screw it up.
Well, to show you where I'm at as a Red Sox fan, I don't even know who's starting for us tonight.
Who is starting for you? I think you got Martin Perez, maybe.
Oh, that's definitely who it is. Definitely Martin Perez.
Yeah.
Who looked good in summer camp, but has looked awful.
Yeah, it was not a great first start.
Honestly, I'll show some integrity here. I think the Mets win tonight.
Okay. Giving us the jinx, I see. It's all right.
So you pulled that move last night. But I'll show some journalistic integrity here. I think the Mets win tonight. I think it's close because I don't think Mats goes 6. And that bullpen is as iffy as it gets, it seems.
Yeah.
But, if we can beat DeGrom.
Beat anybody, right?
Beat anyone, baby. So, but yeah, I think the Mets win tonight 3-1. And then who you guys have for the weekend?
I think who are we supposed to have? I honestly don't even know. I've been literally taking it one game at a time because I'm like, with this team, I can't look too far ahead because literally you don't know what's going to happen every single game. Like, we should have won last night. We should take 3 out of 4 from Boston. That might not happen. We got Atlanta on Friday, so great.
Oh, wow.
Fun.
So you're facing Atlanta and the Red Sox are facing the Yankees.
Yeah, so some big rivalries going on this weekend.
Fantastic. So we both should have a wonderful weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
It would be a lot of fun. I like your chances better than I like ours because the Yankees have looked pretty freaking good so far.
Yeah, they're just an all-star team.
Yes, they're not starting how I envisioned them starting.
No.
They're a tremendous team. So that should be a whole lot of fun. But I will definitely watch the Mets and the Braves because the Braves are, I think, 3-3 right now. I think I looked up before.
Yeah, sitting 3-3 with the Mets. Technically not the top of the division, but the Marlins have only played 3 games, so
it doesn't count. So should be an interesting weekend for both of us. Next week, who knows what we'll talk about because we're just kind of going off the fly here. But
yeah,
next week we will drop this again every Thursday as always. And until then, guys, we will talk to you later.
See you.